Well, welcome to another episode of Breaking Away from the Rat Race. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Joshua Miller. He's a real estate investor, but mainly an entrepreneur. Like he has done all kinds of different businesses. And now, after building 120 doors in real estate, in rental properties, he is currently owning or operating a lead generation business. So we'll talk all about that in a moment. Joshua, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, so interesting journey. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about it and kind of like how you went from your job to building that real estate portfolio, and now to the lead generation business.
Yeah, so I graduated college, went straight into the typical corporate job as an engineer, actually for Chevron. So it had that whole pension plan, and that's where I thought I'd be for the next 40 years. My mentor, he ended up working all the way till he was 75, retiring and passing away 6 months later. And so when that happened, that was really my like aha moment of, wow, is this really the destiny for me? And that made me start looking at alternatives of how I could generate wealth without giving away 40 years of my life. And I actually bought my first rental in 2013, and it was great. I remember I had an uncle in Las Vegas, and he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, you can buy these homes for like 30K." And I was like, well, I want to buy a car. And so I ended up buying a car instead. Unfortunately, that house is probably worth, 300,000 now, but I ended up buying one rental in 2013, doing nothing up until about 2016, when I was like, man, I just need to take action. I need to do something. So I set up a Google Ads campaign and didn't know what I was doing. So set it up nationwide. And this guy in Wichita, Wisconsin, I'm from Los Angeles, California, so I have no clue what's going on out there. He responds to my ad and says, yeah, I need to sell my house. And he wanted, I don't know what it was, like 80,000. I call a local realtor up. He's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you for, that house is worth probably 100. I was like, well, shoot, 80 grand to 100. I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I call the owner. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I can't give you 80. So he calls me back. Anyways, he keeps calling me back and talking himself down. And I was finally like, well, what's
you're quite a
on?
Negotiator there.
Yeah, I was like the best, not knowing what I was doing. And it turned out he was going to lose the property to the city for back taxes at the end of the month. And he had to get rid of it or he was losing it. He owed about 35,000. So long story short, I told him, look, I told him the truth. I don't even have the money, but I will see if I can get it. And if I can, will you accept 40? So you at least have 5K to walk away with. He said, sure. So I went onto the site Bigger Pockets. I literally posted, will anyone lend me money on my first deal? Somebody actually did, which is unbelievable. Gave me the full amount, said, I just want 10%. Doesn't matter if you sell it, give me back my money in a day or a year. I want 10% back. I said, fine. Closed on that deal, called the realtor up. He's like, yeah, it's probably worth that was right. He says it's probably worth like 120. I'll buy it from you today for 100. I was like, okay. And so Scott, insanely lucky. Those deals never happened, but it just so happened on my first deal, and that got me hooked. So still took me another 2 years to quit my corporate job, but I started buying homes nationwide after that. Literally advertising, buying, closing, listing them with a local realtor. I didn't know about wholesaling. And then did that about 30 states, realized that I just had another job. So decided I wanted to get into the rental business. And so I switched to that exclusively, ran the numbers. I'm a data guy, and chose the Midwest, Omaha, Nebraska, and set up shop, and the rest is history. So did that for another year. Acquired 120 rentals, and then said, I'm done. My goal was 100. So when I reached 120, I said I was done working and
Yeah.
could live passively. So yeah, that's my story. Sorry, that took a little longer than I
No, no,
expected,
that's
but
this is all fine. I mean, we're just so interesting. So you're a data guy. So I'm also a data guy. I'm a math. I studied actuarial mathematics actually at university and worked as an actuary for a while. And and so statistics is a big thing. And when we started looking for markets, we live in California, and we were looking for a market. We knew that California was, if you're looking for cash flowing properties, the returns don't really make sense. So we started looking for other markets, and then I collected a whole bunch of data from BLS and from Census Bureau and all that stuff, and kind of collated that, and then really say, well, what's the market like? How do I pick the best market? And so, I had like landlord friendly, I had sustainable growth in population and in business diversification, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I collated all of that, and then we picked like a couple of markets, and we decided to go Memphis, we decided to go Cleveland, St. Louis, and that's how we did that. So what were some of the criteria that you used on your side to decide about Nebraska?
yeah, it's been a few years. It was 2017 when I picked it, but the biggest one for me is I thought we were gonna crash. Like I was sure at any moment, especially since I had like 30, was working in 30 different states, had a ton of homes on market. I thought any minute the market's gonna crash. I'm gonna be
How
left
do you
with all
feel
these
now?
homes. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So that was to me the biggest thing is I
Yeah,
wanted a place where it's flat. And that
yeah,
was Omaha, Nebraska. Nothing happens. The home prices don't go up.
yeah,
There's zero appreciation. And that's what I was looking for.
yeah,
So that when there was a crash, my homes would still cash flow. And if I had to sell for whatever reason, I wouldn't be crazy underwater. So that was my biggest one. Followed that with definitely affordability. I wanted a place where if interest rates skyrocketed, whatever happened, that the amount of money people make to what the home prices are
yeah,
correlated with the interest rates, it was incredibly affordable.
yeah,
So that was a big one. I love John Burns. I'm not sure if you're
yeah,
familiar
yeah,
with all of
yeah,
his
no, yeah,
data. His book Big Shifts Ahead had just come out, and I
oh,
read
yeah,
it like my Bible. I love that book.
yeah,
Uh, and it was telling me not to go to Omaha. It said, the whole entire population was going to the Southwest, or sorry, like Florida, Texas,
yeah,
Tennessee. But if you looked at the population of Omaha, Nebraska, it was steady.
yeah,
No, it's not going to get that appreciation. It's not going to get a crazy amount of people moving in, but it's not decreasing. So to
yeah,
me, I didn't want to see a loss in population when choosing my market. So those were the two big ones. And then of course, because I bought everything off market, I was really looking at the competition as well,
yeah,
where I could find less competition. Yeah, Austin would have been an incredible market, but there's just so much competition there
yeah,
that I wouldn't have got a fighting chance. So yeah,
yeah,
those were probably my big ones. I learned later it's so localized though, so you can find one of the best markets in the world in a suburb of Austin, and so there might be a tiny little pocket in
yeah.
there that would have worked. I was looking at it a little bit too macro at the time, but yeah, it worked out.
Yeah. So you really focus at the beginning, it sounded like you were kind of like going nationwide on buying properties, but then you decided to focus in a specific market.
Yep.
So and why was that? Why did you decide to focus?
Well, I wanted to get out. I wanted to stop working, and I was making
Yeah.
all this money, but I was still working so hard, and I wanted that passive. That was the end of the goal,
Yeah.
not to work for the next 40 years,
Yeah.
to leave a legacy for my kids, to essentially to get out of the rat race. So love your
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you're just buying and flipping. You
Yeah.
can't do that if you're just wholesaling. The
Yeah.
only way to do that in real estate is to build up a rental portfolio,
Yeah.
or invest in syndication deals, one of those two.
Yeah.
But to me it seemed like the rental business had the single family homes had the most benefits with I'm sure, I don't know them by heart, but the
Yeah.
taxes
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a good point. And I think in my book, I talk about like the strategy alignment, right? So you have your goal of achieving financial freedom and stuff like that. And then in order to do this, you have to generate passive income. And then when they start to look at strategies, this is when people are starting to frail and then kind of like go in all kinds of different directions and go for the next shiny object, because they look at it and say, oh, I'm only making like 10% on my rental and stuff like that, but I could be flipping and I could be making 20%. So it's like, yeah, but yes, you could, but then this is not passive income. Then you would be, after you're done your flip, then you're going to have to find another flip, and then you're going to have to, find another hard money lender, PML or whatever, and then the contractor, blah, 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 and repeat. Same thing with wholesaling. I mean, it is a lot of work unless you create an organization and the process in place, and you can put that on autopilot somehow and then back away. But that takes a while to get there. But yeah, I think this is very important, because it's realizing that your strategy, how you're planning to achieve your goal, if it's not in line with your goal, then in your situation, you basically created another job for yourself. Yeah, you were not working for the oil company anymore, but now you were just working, looking for houses every day, and it's hard work as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to also doing what you love and what you're good at. And that's something I know there's people that have done thousands of properties in a very short amount of time. So 120 is not that impressive. But for me, it was my goal. And so I had my goal of 100 and I stuck to it. And that to me was success. Another thing that really benefited me is sticking to what I was really good at. So I knew from day one, I was good at the data side, I was good at the marketing side, and I was horrible at sales. So I did that one phone call with that one owner the first time, and I bought hundreds and hundreds of more properties. I never spoke to another seller. Actually, there's one other person. So I've talked to 2 sellers in my entire career. I know I'm not very good at organization, and so I hired an operations manager. So from day one, when I said I wanted to go into business in 2016, while I was still working full time, I hired out all these different people to run the business. It's incredibly complex with I think there's 50 different job roles in a real estate investing business. And it's impossible to do them all at scale. So realizing, what am I good at, putting my name in those boxes, and then outsourcing the rest really helped me tremendously. And to this day, I talk to folks quite often who are just getting into real estate investing, and they're trying to learn everything. And I tell them straight up, like, what are your skill sets? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? Stick with that and outsource the rest. So as far as turnkey properties go, I refer a lot of people to turnkey properties, not because I don't think they're smart. They might be incredibly smart. But actually, I just talked to a dentist, right? He makes $300,000 a year, incredible, owns his own place, like very successful. And he was trying to quit to become a real estate investor. I was like, no, man, like the amount of time it's going to take you to learn everything and the amount of money that you're going to make, like go and just invest your money. Like by far, that's going to be the best strategy for you. You spend all this time and effort and you built this clinic, keep it running, automate that before you try to create another business. Because I think that's a big folly that people get tricked into, is thinking that this is just like an investment strategy. It's not. It's a business when you start start doing it all. So I learned a lot along the way.
I mean, we have dentists as well. We have very smart people that invest with us. And the thing is that you don't have time. If you're working full time as a dentist or a doctor or whatever, you don't have time to start looking at properties and in the Midwest and say, oh yeah, this is the right market. I'm going to buy this house, and then going to the notary and get things signed up. And then the all of that, organizing the contractor and all of that. You don't have time to do all that kind of stuff. So, and my recommendation to them is, if this is something that really interests you, get to a point where you have sufficient passive income, build a passive income portfolio, And when you get about 80% of your living expenses are covered, at least 80%, then start thinking about, okay, that I'm gonna go, once my living expenses are covered, then I'm gonna go and do that and jump and then do that full time, because it's gonna take a while to get familiar with the real estate investing, and then put your team together and then your process together. So yeah, so I totally agree with that.
Yeah. No, it sounds sexy. It's like
Yeah,
so many gurus are out there selling it like it's so simple, but there's so many steps
yeah,
involved. And I mentioned this to you before the call about you don't make your money when you buy, you make your money through good contractors and through good property management,
yeah,
because unless you're flipping, I mean, yeah, flipping, you make your money when you buy, but
yeah.
with rentals, it's completely dependent on the property management, and finding a good one that's a business in and of its own, as I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
you're aware.
Yeah, I mean, that was our first thing at the beginning, was to find the right property management company, somebody that was reputable and all of that. And we actually put our own properties under that property management company before having like other investors kind of like figure out on their own that this was not the right property management company. But so that's very, very interesting, because I think also, and this is the advantage also of buying turnkey, because you don't have to figure out the market. We find the right market, or the turnkey provider finds the right market where it's going to cash flow. They already get rid of all the unknowns in terms of how much it's going to cost in renovations. Now, the renovations are done. What's the rent going to be like? Well, we have a tenant, and here's the rent that they just signed up for. And so all of that, all these unknown, all these risks are removed. And as you mentioned before, we were talking about returns, and you're saying like you'd rather have like a little bit of a smaller return, but kind of sleep at night and know that this is okay, instead of having, yeah, maybe a bigger returns if you do a BRRRR strategy, but it's a lot of effort to get there, to find the right contractor, make sure that all the costs are lining up, that you have the right market, you have the right tenant, and they're paying the rent that you thought they would pay, and then getting the refinancing at the end. So finding the right lender, make sure it's the right, all those things have to line up. There's a lot of things that need to line up in order to for that to work. So having a little bit of a lower return, maybe because you're buying turnkey, yes, but it's also a lot easier to ramp up and buy multiple properties.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's people often don't include the cost of their time into factoring ROIs,
Yeah.
but it absolutely all any day of the week. So I was sharing with you, I had 120 homes. I now have 15 because I decided to sell off my properties and become a passive investor in a lot of different things. I make way less money, but I sleep well at night. I can take an entire year off, which I almost did, and not have to worry about, hey, is my money still going to be coming in? Or is my property manager? I think the biggest thing I can recommend is just to take action. And it's like, yeah, I've lost millions of dollars, but it was only because I lost millions of dollars that I was able to make so much more. And not being afraid to just step up. I didn't tell you, but my very first property that I bought, the one in 2013, I bought it from an auction website.
Oh my God.
Which is like the worst thing ever to do. I bought it blind. I haven't seen any of my properties. I do everything remotely, but I bought it completely blind because I just felt like, man, I do not want to be in this job for the next 40 years. I just need to. So I went to auction.com, bid on it, and got it.
You must really have hated your job.
I love my job, actually. Like I really I really did. I mean, I got to travel the world. I got to literally automate data, which is to me the best thing in the world. But yeah, that idea of spending my whole life working, no fun at all. So yeah.
And you mentioned also that somebody that passed away that was close by, and Yeah, I mean, sometimes life is eye-opening. I would say when you see that, you say, "Oh yeah, I have my priorities are all wrong." My mother passed away a couple of years ago, and you know, she was always interested in like art and things, and like luxury clothes and that kind of stuff. And then when she passed away, she had to go to a kind of like a palliative care house where it was kind of like the end of time, the end of the day, and she could take anything she wanted with her. So if you want art, if you want clothes or whatever you wanted from your house that was so very, very precious to you, you can bring it with you to make it your last days more comfortable. And she didn't want anything. She said, I don't care about any of that stuff. I was like, what? What about this? What about that? Said, no, don't care about any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. It's like, wow, that was, to me, I couldn't believe it. And yeah, I came home, and then I looked at boxes in the garage and called Junk King and say, well, I have some, you have to come and pick up some boxes. I've been accumulating for garbage so but that's true. So having the right priorities, I think it's good. And I think that's part of the problem too, is that people you want to have financial freedom, in my opinion, as I said in many times, is that it should be everyone's number one goal. I mean, money is good and stuff like that, but it's what it can afford you. And the thing that's most precious is to have your time back and buy your time back and be able to spend it with family, friends, travel, and that kind of stuff, and do what you enjoy. And if you enjoy working, you can still work. That doesn't mean you have to quit your job, just keep working, but at least you have the freedom to take 3 months off, or the freedom of mind to tell your boss off or something if you're very unhappy. But yeah, so that's what I think is that's why I did this podcast, and this is why I interview people, to kind of get everyone inspired to focus on that aspect of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and at the end of the day, it's about helping others. I mean, I'm sure that's like the number one reason you have the podcast. And I stopped working, and then I sat around for 6 months at the beach, did the travel, and it was like, man, like this is horrible. And as soon as I started helping others, it's like the most selfish thing you can do actually is help others, because I was doing it for myself. I didn't feel good, and I wanted to feel good. And I've got 3 kids, I got a beautiful wife, but at the end of the day, it does come back to really giving to others. And that is always going to be the most rewarding thing you can do. And having that financial freedom and that the resources that you can help people, it's like incredibly rewarding. So I feel very blessed to have gotten into real estate, and it definitely was a life-changing for me. I mean, I still would be there at the corporate job, so it's been a good journey.
So the other thing too is that you are kind of like, because of your real estate knowledge, you also decided that, okay, well, I'm going to keep some of these rental properties, but I'm going to diversify a little bit, and I'm going to be investing in other people's deals. So tell us about some of the deals, not the details necessarily of the deals, but what kind of deals were they? Like the syndication that are cash flowing? Are they joint ventures? Or
I've really started to diversify. So I took about 50 homes and put it into cryptocurrency. This was in last year while I was still good. Now it's don't look, but it was good last year. I bought into a gold mine in Colorado. I bought into water wells in Pennsylvania. I bought into a syndication deal in somewhere, and that wasn't Chicago, but it was what else did I do with the funds? I bought into an electric vehicle company. So really just started diversifying my funds. I kept about 15 properties. I took a lot of the lower end ones and upgraded to some higher end ones. And while the cash flow isn't as great, again, it's just low turnover, less repairs, and all of
Yeah.
that. So that's been good. And then yeah, diversified some more into some lease options,
Okay.
and those are great. Don't have to deal with the tenants or the toilets.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so really just trying to diversify all over the place.
Yeah.
And as long as it's passive, I'm in.
Oh, wow, that's good. And then this pause also, or this I would say this tweak in your strategy also led you to start your lead generation company,
Yeah.
right? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so actually, I started with a software. The way I generated all of my off-market deals was through texting, cold calling, direct mail, Facebook ads, PPC ads, and I didn't see a software that did it all. There's kind of like you had to piecemeal it from different
Yeah.
sources, and so and on the data side, while there are plenty of data providers out there, I didn't feel like there was a good one that did the web scraping went off after those really hard to get niche lists, like the code violations, the water shutoffs, the tax delinquencies. So I wanted to build a software that really did the data and did the software. At the end of the day, though, I found that most investors, their skill sets were not in marketing. Neither
Yeah.
was mine at the beginning, but 3-4 years of doing it nonstop. And then I just started hiring good marketing people to help these investors. And then I was like, well, I've got the marketing, I've got the software, I got the data. Why don't I just create a marketing agency? So stop doing the software side of things and move strictly into the marketing agency. And it's been a blast. I mean, it is truly awesome. I have a guy actually here in San Diego. Most of guys are wholesalers.
Yeah.
So I have a wholesaler here in San Diego that's been trying to do it for I think 10 years and gone through every coach and everything else. And then I was like, man, you just need to get your marketing going. You're a great sales guy. And he started about a month and a half ago. He's done 3 wholesale deals. And while that's so awesome to me, is this guy's got the biggest, best heart in the world, like way better than mine. Like, this guy loves the homeless people, and everything he does is to help the homeless.
Wow.
And like truly, like we were eating lunch because I live just right up the street in Seal Beach. And after lunch, he goes out and buys a nice hamburger at this restaurant, goes and gives it to the homeless guy. I'm like, no, I would have given my leftovers. Like, no, this guy, like the full on, and just to be able to see, I don't know, it's really awesome to be able to see that not all investors, not all wholesalers are bad, and that, it's not just providing for our own families, but helping others. So yeah, that's what we do. And it's tough. I will tell you that. I'm sure you see the lack of inventory right now.
Yeah.
It is really, really tough to be generating these leads. It's like this perfect trifecta of there's more investors in this space than ever before. I was looking at Bigger Pocket stats, and there's something like 30,000 new investors signing up every month. That's the first trifecta. Then the second is that there's no inventory. And then the third is there's technologies come so far that now there's 100 different softwares and 100 different places you can buy the data. So it's getting super tough, but
tons of money being put in the hands of the stock market, Wall Street.
Oh, it's crazy.
Investors. Yeah.
Who was it? I just saw yesterday that Jeff Bezos is backing some new home buying company.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I saw the BlackRock. Is that called?
BlackRock, or I don't know. I don't do
BlackRock. I think there's just or Blackstone. I think is they're investing another like $3 billion or whatever in to invest in real estate, single family rentals, exactly in the markets that you and I are investing in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good and it's bad. I think the good side of that is I don't believe anymore, like I did in 2017, that there's going to be a big crash, because you got all this institutional money with tens of billions of dollars. They're going to be, like if the home prices do want to start dropping, they're going to be coming in buying everything. So that's what I see as like the positive side of it.
Yeah, I never thought there would be a big crash like 2008. There's a very big difference between now and 2008. 2008, there was millions of bad loans that were happening with adjustable rates, and people that couldn't afford the rate, they couldn't afford the mortgage after the rate increased. So after the 12 months period. So this, now we're not in that situation anymore. We don't have the bad loans. The people that have loans right now is just because, if they're not paying, there's some program in place to kind of like renegotiate or renegotiate your loan so that you don't lose the house and all that. And so they're still good people. They have good rating, good credit rating. They're just like, maybe they didn't have a job for 3 months and then they couldn't pay. So that kind of stuff. So I don't think we have the same situation that we had in 2008. So, and the government is on board to preserve any kind of like mortgages. If there's any kind of issues that they think is gonna be massive foreclosure, they're gonna be right on top of that. I have no doubt about it. So
yeah.
So I don't expect big foreclosure this time.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I think anyone who's saying there's a tsunami of foreclosures coming is just selling his course.
Yeah, exactly. So, and in other areas, maybe, but maybe like in commercial real estate, if you have a big office building in California, maybe that these would be a little bit more troublesome to rent out if people work more from home, or the workers that can work from home anywhere in another state. Then so that could be a little bit harder to rent or something like that. But the people that normally own these buildings, they have a little bit bigger wallets, and they're able to handle that a little bit better. Yeah. So that was, thank you very much, Josh, as we wrap it up. So if anything else you want to mention before that I forgot to mention before we wrap it up?
No, I'm just a firm believer of stay in your lane, stay at what you're good at. And if you enjoy it, then focus on that. But I honestly love this turnkey model. I think it's a great solution for a lot of people that are working full time. And let me just tell you that it looks shiny, but I've done all the work, and you've done all the work, and it is an insane amount of work to do it yourself. So quite honestly, if you can just passively invest, that's where I ended up. Like, I did all this work to end up at passively investing. So really do encourage you to not quit your job and jump in.
I think part of the problem is that we make it look easy. If somebody looks outside and they say, "Oh, look, he talks to people all day, he's laughing and all that," and all the houses are far away and all that. But we make it look easy, what we're doing. But getting all these houses, I have a team of people that are working on this like full time. And we have team on the ground, but also team here in the office, basically, to to make that magic happen. And it looks magical from the outside, but there's a lot of hard work and a lot of people working at it to make sure that all these projects are running smoothly, and that we provide good value for our investors. So, Josh, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
You could actually, you can go to my website. It's goforclose.com. That's goforclose.com. And you can actually book a call with me there. It doesn't have to be about us generating new leads. I really do love talking about investing. So happy to share with you, with your audience, any questions at all.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Josh.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure, and talk to you later.
Thank you for listening to Break Away from the Rat Race with your host, Eric Martel. If you want to share your story and experience with our listeners, please message us on Facebook at Break Away from the Rat Race. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast on iTunes.